Hello and welcome. We're looking for $2 million homes around the country, and this time it's Colorado, which was a great mix of land and homes. The homes weren't super fancy by today's modern standards, but it was easy to get land. There are many very expensive homes in Colorado, but still at this humble price range of $1.5 to $2 million, we were able to find a few that were pretty cool. So this one had 145 acres and was built in 2004. And the only thing about it had great views, but it was almost too solitary. And it doesn't help that the home is empty. So it kind of leads you to believe that while this may have seemed like a good idea, that people just had to get out of here. I mean, the views are spectacular. I mean, you just look at that and it's just great views, so you can't argue with that. But the house itself, and maybe just living here, kind of reminded me of a Colorado version of The Shining. Interior is just your modern log cabin with the exposed logs all over the place. You will see a lot of these today with these homes that I've picked, but it was just a little bit too much out of the middle of nowhere. And it was located like way down here too, so it was like three and a half hours to Denver. This one next up is located on the western side, so it was about an hour from Grand Junction. There was a smaller town it wasn't too far from. And I think it was, since it was along I-70, it was like 3.5 hours to Denver, so not totally crazy. The outside kind of has a barn appearance to it, but the inside was more refined, I think, than the last time. I kind of like this one's interior better, and it had a cool geodesic dome, so you could do gardening year round. And it had a big barn too, so big enough to put RVs in. So it was right at the $2 million mark. So next up, this one is on the western side of Denver, and you would think it's approaching some of the ski resorts, but you have to like go all the way down and then go all the way out. So it ended up being an hour and a half to ski resorts. So you would think it would be closer than what it is. But it was, again, one of the kind of log cabin inspired homes. And this one had nice fireplaces and was kind of warm and cozy. And it just felt warmer than the we'll call it the Shining house. It had kind of the brick in the kitchen. So, but overall, it did have this hot tub, which was kind of cool the way they did it. So you just kind of step up to it. So it was nice. I would kind of rather it be covered, because if you get a foot of snow, are you really gonna shovel that and get to it? So there we go. I think this one had just 2.5 acres. So moving on. This one kind of had the the southwest feel to it big time, and it was kind of way north of Denver. So it was a little bit more out of the way, even to get to the Rocky Mountain State Park. You'd think it'd be closer, and it had a very, very strange. I think it was like 30 acres, but it was the weirdest, like, so not cool land. So 30 acres of not cool, and you're not touching the water either. So it was just a weird acres. But the house itself had a a Spanish inspired interior, and some of the pictures didn't go over the top with the exposed beams, and so all that was more subtle. Kind of had the rounded corners, archways. It had the little fireplace here. This also kind of a couch in the middle of nowhere. I didn't understand that, but I guess. So overall, just very, again, warm, cozy, but not. It had like this, again, outdoor rando hot tub in a covered area here, which I don't know why the hot tub isn't under there, but it had a good view that for entertaining and such out the back. So I thought that was very cool. Moving on. So this is on Boulder, Colorado. which is north and west of Denver, so very close to getting into town and Red Rock Amphitheater and stuff, and not too far from Rocky Mountain National Park either. So it's a good location and really close to Boulder, so you have amenities and stuff like that. And the house, it's intriguing and yet slightly disturbing because it's just kind of cut into the mountain, and it's kind of neat, but I I'll show you the house. The house, it was like built in '76, but they modernized in 2004. So the interior looks very new, chic, HGTV. So that's very current and modern. And you got this open part right here, open concept. So you got the modern touch to it. So they did a good job of updating it from where it was. But just the outside of it, just being on this, I mean, my backyard slopes at about 30 degrees, and it's hard to deal with. So this is nearly 45. And so that, I don't know. I don't think you'd be spending that much time on the side of the mountain on your land. But anyway, moving on. So this house could be anywhere house. Just a big mansion. It was built in, I think, 2008. So it's got the kind of darker interior to it, which some people don't like if they like modern stuff, but I like it. I think it's I appreciate the warmth of it, and they tried different things. It wasn't just a boring interior, but I know some of these dark kitchens nowadays people just don't go for. So, but I like it. It's just kind of your generic McMansion sort of thing. Could be anywhere across the country. For Denver, it did have a little playground, and it also had a small pool, which was kind of rare for Denver because obviously all the snow. And it had an outdoor covered entertainment area too. So I thought that was a nice touch. And it is just south of Denver, so there's nothing super cool landscape wise down here. I guess Pikes Peak's not too far, but Colorado Springs is close, so you're kind of a toe in each of those, but really close to Denver. So it just was overall a solid house, but not to me indicative of Colorado. But there's many more of these huge homes all over Denver. This one was a little bit too far out. When I was seeing how far it was, it just took a while to drive even to Fort Collins. It was like an hour, and it just took forever to drive places. It's if you want seclusion, this would be it. And it does have, I think, 40 acres. So, but it's got I think it has a huge gas tanks. It's got a well. It's got solar, so you're off the grid, self-sustained kind of deal. And the interior was, I like the wood of it. So they kind of it was all kind of a modern take. They didn't go. I don't know. They were a little bit all over the place in some of the design because they sort of went modern, but then have the beams, and parts of it worked, parts of it clashed. I mean, you have your open concept here, so I don't know. I just they did have this cool like little covered interior greenhouse thing too. So, but it did have like the room that my wife and daughter would totally be in all the time, the reading room. They would be in this room all the time, right? Either napping or reading and napping, which I think that's just awesome. And it had a separate garage, so that's always good to have the extra space like that. So moving on, this one is in Estes Park, which I really like the location because Estes is, my understanding, kind of the gateway to Rocky Mountain National Park. That's kind of how we went into it. There might be other approaches, and so it's just really, it's like 10 minutes away from Estes Park, so there's all these little kind of kitschy things to do in Estes. So your closest civilization, you got about 3 acres of your own land. I don't know, was this the one? 2 acres, sorry, of your own land. And we're back to the the log cabin kind of look and feel. And this one I think worked a little bit better. It was just more interesting, the way the logs are laid out. It had more to look at, and I love the entertainment downstairs. Needs a ping pong table, but I'll let it slide. Love the foosball in the pool, but the views, very, very good. But there's another house, so that's the only thing. You're not in total seclusion here. You do have neighbors, so that's a good and a bad. So anyway, moving on. So this one just sold. So that's the thing, is that these houses move in Colorado. People have money and they're buying. And this kind of, if it wasn't pending, then it may be my number one, because it's kind of located just southwest of Denver. So it's on the same side as Red Rock Amphitheater, and you could get up to I think there was some skiing about maybe an hour away, and there was like little towns kind of close. Aspen Park was close enough that you're not in total seclusion from things, and of course Denver itself is not that far away. So it just was a really good location, and it was on its own 40 acres, and it was just a nice, sometimes 40 acres can be bad, but this, you could hike and do stuff on this, and you have your privacy on that. So I really liked it a lot. It had just a wonderful wraparound covered deck, which I think would be cool. Watch the snowfall. It had they went a light, airy, modern interior. So I think this would be really handy in the winter months when there's so much snow out. But it still has, several covered areas where you could sit, and I think that was very cool. And for some reason, they have like these glamping, like deluxe tent areas where you could take your guests. This did get a little bit of a knocking because it was only 3-bedroom and 4-bath. The last house was just 3-bedroom and 2-bath, which for nearly $2 million, you think you could get more than 2 baths in. This house also had a 1-acre pool, a pond, I should say. So they kind of make it look like you go swimming in it. And it had a fireplace area, and then a cool outdoor kind of barbecue entertainment area too, which was covered, which I really appreciate in the winter months. So it had a lot going on, and it had whatever the heck this is. I'm not quite sure what that is. And it also had a big separate barn, so you could put your RV in there. So I think that was really cool. But here we go. Here was the big winner, and this one was kind of further out from Cincinnati. I think it was just 2.5 up Denver, because it's kind of a straight shoot. So you can just take the interstate up to Colorado Springs too. But it was further south. But I just love the views of this. This all the rolling hills, and those would be your items too. It has a small pond on it, not too big. This is I think about 150 acres or so. The interior is your exposed beams. It's not quite a log cabin, but it does have, I think it does have a hot tub somewhere, but a pool table. But here's the other kind of catch, is that it's got all these garages. I don't know why they kept adding them, but there's just several different garages. So you could have, I don't know why it has so many garages, but you could put all your ATVs in one garage, and have your cars in another garage, and your fancy cars in another garage. And just the coolest thing is it has such a nice, the land is, it has flat areas, it has wooded areas, it kind of goes in, and you have all this over here. So if you're into like cross country skiing, you could do that. You could probably make a mountain bike trail just on your own acres. You could just run ATVs over it. So all this would be all your acres. So it's just kind of crazy. But I think there's a lot you can do with that. And so I really enjoyed it. Colorado overall just had so many cool houses with lots of land, and there's some. I've only been to the Denver Rocky Mountain area, and I hear the parts west are beautiful, and the southwest of Colorado is beautiful. So there's so many places I just didn't get to pick, and overall, it's a wonderful place. But you have to drive through Kansas. Anyway, take care. Enjoy. Have a good day or night.